afternoon. I'm Alexandra Klitina, journalist of Kyiv Post. Today with us, Farid Safarov, Deputy Minister of Energy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for coming. I think you should be quite busy those days, right?
A bit.
A bit. My first question about Ukrainian energy system. What are the main challenges and needs, and are international partners helping?
Actually, since the beginning of the war, it was not only the war against Ukraine, but against the energy infrastructure as well. So mainly in the occupied territories, we faced this massive destroyal of our energy infrastructure. But since the 10th of October, massive attacks on the against energy infrastructure started from the side of the aggressor. And actually, those attacks are the heaviest one in the history of the mankind. For the moment, we face a couple of very severe attacks, missile attacks, by different type of rockets, by different type of drones, and actually our distribution and transmission infrastructure suffered severely. In order to quickly restore and repair the lines, the grid, substations, and the generation facilities, we need a lot of equipment to be brought to Ukraine. And actually, there is a huge problem with the supply of such equipment, because you need quite a lot of time to manufacture that type of equipment. But nevertheless, even from the very beginning of the war, the Ministry of Energy coordinated the work with our international partners in order to work with them on the receival of different equipment needed for the energy companies. Those are emergency repairments. We started with the Energy Community Secretariat and with the Euro Commission, and Madam Commissioner Kadri Simpson helped us a lot in order to establish this cooperation among European countries. For now, we have a couple of branches working in order to receive different type of equipment, materials, fuels, in order for energy teams be able to quickly repair the infrastructure. We have a kind of the Council of International Ministries of Energy, that is led by the Minister of Energy, Mr. Galushink, and Madam Commissioner Kadri Simpson. And actually, we are tightly working with ministers from all over the world, not necessarily from the European Union, but also from Canada, from the United States, from Australia, who are helping us to supply the goods that are manufactured in their countries. If to analyze the type of damages that Russians brought to Ukraine's energy facilities and infrastructure, mainly those are substations, and actually high voltage equipment that is used at these substations is the key need of Ukrainian energy system, and we are tightly working with different manufacturers from all over the world, like Siemens, General Electric, Hitachi, and others, in order to make the orders and to supply those auto transformers or relay equipment or different types of other equipment. But nevertheless, my last message and main message is that our energy teams, that are actually the second army of Ukraine, are doing incredible work in order to quickly repair. And if you notice, by living in Ukraine, by living in Kyiv, you may notice that even after severe damages of our infrastructure, we managed to quickly repair and restore the supply of electricity to the households.
Absolutely. And do we have similar standards with European Union of this equipment? So are they able to supply actually quickly?
Actually, the architecture of Ukraine's energy infrastructure, the topology of the grid, was prepared and established in the 1960s when Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. And the standards of the grids that are used and of the equipment that we are using currently are the standards that are common to post-Soviet countries. European Union, so European countries, in parallel build their own infrastructures that is not quite similar to those we use in Ukraine. For example, if we are using high voltage equipment for 750, 330, at the same time European countries are using the same equipment, but with the voltage, for example, 440 or 220. It means that our grid uses more powerful equipment in order to transmit and distribute electric energy. That can be explained by two major facts. The first one is that the main source of generation in Ukraine is the nuclear power, and you need a powerful grid in order to transmit that generated electricity. And the second issue is that the territory of Ukraine is quite huge, and in order to effectively brings electricity from generation points to different parts, to different regions of the country, we needed such architecture of our equipment. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean that we cannot use their equipment. So it is connected only with the equipment that is used as the substations mainly. But the rest of the equipment for sure is the same.
But which countries are helping the most, and is this help sufficient?
I may say humanitarian aid hub of the ministry, so the team that is working in order to attract our investments or grants or the equipment for the needs of the energy companies was established at the early days of the war. Since that moment, we managed to receive more than 166 deliveries of the goods. So when I'm saying about deliveries, it is dozens of tons of different equipment that we need. For example, we have already received more than 1,000 generators, couple of hundreds of kilometers of cables that are needed in order to quickly repair the grid, and other different types of equipment, for example, transformer oils, etc., etc. There are constant partners of Ukraine. Those are more than 20 countries, mainly from the European Union and United States, who are constantly delivering to us different goods. So Great Britain and Poland, for example, have already supplied us with more than 750 tons of different equipment each country. I may say that almost all of the European countries, especially it is incredible when small countries are helping and bringing us a lot of equipment that actually covers, for example, 20% of their own needs. They bring it to Ukraine in order for Ukrainians to be able to receive supply of the electricity. So Baltic countries are helping a lot, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. So I may say that Germany, France, Austria has also brought us a lot of, delivered to us a lot of equipment. So we definitely can say that Ukraine has got a lot of energy friends. And that is when we are talking about the governments who are supplying to us the equipment. We have another case when different companies in the European Union are helping to their proteges in Ukraine. For example, transmission system operators in electricity and gas sectors of European countries are directly helping to transmission system operators from Ukraine with the needs of those companies. Why? Because they definitely know what their partners are in need of. So that is a way how they constantly assist us.
Actually, how long it takes to supply the equipment to Ukraine? So as far as I understand, the company should produce the equipment and after to supply. And do you have uncovered needs, for example, at the moment?
The thing is that mainly countries are helping us with the equipment they have in stock. So we have the list of priority needs of Ukrainian energy companies. We circulate it through our partners by the closed channels of circulation. They receive it, they look what they got at place, they supply us those goods that they have in their own stock. For sure, no one is waiting for the manufacturing of such an equipment because it is an urgent need to be covered now. In order to answer to your question, whether what is the unclosed demand of Ukraine? Actually, unfortunately, for the last couple of months, we have constant rocket attacks of the energy infrastructure. So actually, each Monday or Tuesday, we are facing that. And it means that even though we've got something that we use to repair the system, we are in need to repair it once more because, unfortunately, for example, a rocket hit definite substation, yes, and even though we repaired it a couple of times, we still are facing the problem that we are constantly under attack.
What risks you oversee for Ukrainian energy system in the future? What could be the targets of Russian attacks?
Actually, they managed to severely damage the infrastructure. We understand that they use different scenarios. They are checking out what are the weak points, what are the bottlenecks of the system, and are trying to target them. So, in order to prevent the aggressor from doing that, we definitely need air defense systems. So that is a key priority. The first type of equipment that the energy sector is in need of is the air defense system. So a kind of a shelter that can be created for energy facilities, because we can receive hundreds or thousands of tons of different equipment, but the very next day, the very next hour, and it is fully unpredictable, we may receive a new rocket attack, and unfortunately we will have our infrastructure shield. So in order to prevent the aggressor from the damages that they bring to Ukrainian energy facilities, we definitely should close the sky, I must say. So we should protect the air in order for the rockets not to be able to hit the targets.
But you say it's also possible to build the shelters for energy equipment. So
yes, for sure, we can prevent full destroyal of such equipment when being attacked, when being hit. But it doesn't mean that we can prevent the rocket to reach the target. So that is the main focus. So we're totally working definitely with our military forces in order to prevent that. You may see the figures when we are talking about, for example, one of the last attacks when more than 85, so approximately 85 rockets sent to Ukraine, yes, and for example, 80% of those rockets were struck by our air defense system. So the figures are quite good. Our military forces are doing an incredible job. But even one rocket that will reach the target can lead to the problems of the supply of the electricity to the commercial objects, to critical infrastructure, and to the private households. And when talking about the energy sector, why it is the most critical one in the country? Because actually most of the communal services are fully dependent on the electricity supply, water supply, gas supply, and the rest of it. So when protecting the energy sector, we're not only protecting the energy sector, we are protecting the civilians from the humanitarian problems that they may face when having the gap in the supply of basic communal services for a couple of hours or for several hours.
Why are consequences of Russian attacks felt in the other countries, for example, in Moldova?
That is because, so mainly that is only Moldova, because the way the infrastructure is built and it was connected, as I mentioned, from the 1960s, is that it was one common grid, yes, and you may know that we were part of Eastern European grid, so with Belarus and Russia, and on the 24th of February, it was planned that, so it was a plan that we will switch off from the grids of Belarus and Russia and test our own system. And actually, we started that process at 2 o'clock at night, approximately, and at 4, the war started. Yeah, so the Russians definitely knew that it is quite a good chance, and they believed that they will manage to lay down the energy system of Ukraine. And then, during the next 16 days, Ukrainian energy team made an incredible job because we made the emergency synchronization to the European systems grid, European Union's grid, to NSOE. And actually, that was a kind of a miracle, because it was supposed that we will do that in terms of 1.5 years, and we managed to do that in 2 weeks. So, but nevertheless, the part of the system, of the energy system, is started connected with other countries, and specifically Moldova, unfortunately, suffered from the attacks that the Russians did against Ukrainian energy sector. And it proves one more idea that actually Russia is not combating against Ukraine. Yes, that is a war aggression against the whole civilized world, and even other countries suffer from those attacks.
But if our system connected to European Union, can we potentially import the energy from European Union in a case of emergency, for example?
The second miracle that has been done through this period, yes, a period of wartime, was that we managed to start the exports of the electricity in order to cover the needs of European market, because we have a lot of powerful facilities of generation. Russians unfortunately managed to take the effective control and occupy the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as a main source of generation in Ukraine, and actually the biggest nuclear power plant in
Zaporizhzhia
Ukraine.
nuclear
Yeah,
power.
but nevertheless, we had free facilities, free power to export to the European Union. When we had the problem,
But are we still exporting?
No, we are not exporting at all. On the 10th of October, when we faced that critical damage to the energy infrastructure, there was the direct decree of the ministers that we should ban the exports, because we need, even if we have extra power to be exported, we needed to control our own system in order to create the reserve of the powers that would be supplied to our own customers. So since the 11th of October, there is no export to the European Union at all. And unfortunately, constant attacks that actually we faced since the 10th of October led us to the situation when we have to analyze and to be prepared to the imports of electricity. When connecting to the European grid, it doesn't mean that you have one-way route. You have the back route as well. So yes, we do have the ability to import electricity from the European Union, and that would be and that case would be used in case if needed, in case if we face critical situation at our own energy market.
Our energy system is quite damaged from Russian attacks. How long would it take actually to repair energy system in your opinion?
You know, the main position of the whole government, of the president of Ukraine, of the minister of energy, of our companies, is that we should build back better. So if we are asking how much time it would be needed in order to restore the system as it was, I would like to say that it will never happen, because we do not want the system to be built back as it was. So we need to adapt the new standards, technical requirements that our European colleagues are using, because we have the general position of the country that we are facing, that we are trying to reach out the main target. Yes, so we want to become the part of the European family. Therefore, we have to rebuild the whole electric energy infrastructure, gas supply infrastructure to the standards that are applicable to the European Union. It will take time, for sure. No one can say how long it will last, because we do not know when that is a break-even point, when Russians to target us, yes, and when those attacks against the energy infrastructure will be stopped. So we hope that, so we definitely know that we will win this war, but still that is a question how long there will be attack in the system. And from that point, we will definitely do our best in order to quickly not only restore, but to rebuild the system into the European standards, for us never to face in the future the problems that occurred during this war, when it is quite difficult to use the equipment provided that can be potentially provided by our European colleagues.
Okay, thank you for this interview and good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.